everyone. I appreciate your time. I'm here to present AB 1056, which creates the Second Chance Program for Community Reentry. This program will guide the savings realized from the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act of 2014, or Proposition 47, to provide funding for collaborative community-based approaches to assist formerly incarcerated persons with housing, behavioral health, drug treatment, and other services. Specifically, 1056 directs the Board of State and Community Corrections to administer the program, establishes a Second Chance Fund within the State Treasury, and provides the BSCC is responsible for administering the fund. It also provides that the fund can receive monies from any federal, state, and local grants or private donation or grants. As you know, increasing numbers of formerly incarcerated individuals are returning to our communities as a result of prison overcrowding directives, as well as recent public safety reforms such as AB 109 and Proposition 47. Due to their criminal backgrounds, many of these individuals have tremendously difficult time securing housing and employment. Compounding those challenges is the fact that they often suffer from mental health and or substance abuse disorders. In addition, housing formerly incarcerated individuals can serve as the literal and figurative foundation for successful reintegration into the community. It allows them to seek employment and pursue educational opportunities and participate in anti-recidivism programs without the fear of not having a place to sleep or live. And in fact, every point in time count I've been done, year by year by year, the individuals who've been formerly incarcerated are on the streets mainly because they can't find stable housing. By prioritizing collaborative grant proposals that bring together behavioral health services, housing supports, diversion programs, and other community-based reentry assistance, AB 1056 will help ensure that the Prop 47 savings are used to meaningfully reduce recidivism and enhance the safety of our communities. I have three individuals here to testify, Mr. Chairman. Melina Blake, who is with Californians for Safety and Justice, John Bowders from Housing California, and Ruben Lopez, Anti-Recidivism Coalition, that's the organization he's with, and a former Prop 47 beneficiary. I would ask for your questions and comments at any point, but thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a bill that's not only appropriate but needed and necessary, especially with the changes that have been made, most recently by the passage of Prop 47. And I know you have a very significant and impressive coalition of supporters, so we're happy to welcome them this morning. Who's going to go first?
Good morning. Melina Blake with Californians for Safety and Justice. Our sister C4 organization was the sponsor of Proposition 47. We're very excited to be here today in support of AB 1056. When we did draft Proposition 47, we purposely left the language fairly broad to allow for more specificity down the line, and AB 1056 does that. It allows for leveraging of existing funds in county and municipal accounts, as well as prioritizing services for people directly impacted by Prop 47 and to give them the services indicated by Prop 47. So we ask for your aye vote today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Blake.
John Bowders, Policy Director at Housing California, and the Speaker aptly said, homelessness is a serious problem, not only in California but the United States. Over 20% of the nation's homeless live here in California compared to roughly 11% of the national population. Many of those who are homeless here in California are people with records for low-level offenses that were covered by Prop 47, and they face daily barriers to employment and housing. And AB 1056 very wisely layers into the priorities that were given in the ballot measure, opportunities to fund housing and job employment skills training alongside of mental health and substance use services. And so on behalf of many of the housing and human services organizations in support of this bill, we would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bowders.
Madam Speaker and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today in support of AB 1056. My name is Ruben Lopez. I work with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition out of Los Angeles, California. When I was a young man, I was caught in the throes of drug addiction, which led me to a life of crime. I was in and out of prison for many years. There were never any post-release programs or residential programs that could aid me in breaking the cycle of recidivism, so I kept going back. In 1995, I was arrested for possession of a small amount of drugs. I was tried and convicted to a sentence of 25 years to life under California's 3 strikes law. With a statewide effort of community leaders and community-based organizations, Prop 47 was passed in 2014. I was released under Prop 47 on April 12, 2015. I had no clue where I was going or what I was going to do upon my release. My attorney suggested I enter a residential housing program, specifically the Amity Foundation out of Los Angeles, California, to which I agreed. For the first time upon release, I got support. Since my residency at the Amity Foundation, I have gained access to numerous resources that have aided me in reclaiming my identity, providing me with educational and vocational training and financial support for trade school. Through the California Department of Rehabilitation, Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitative Services, and tools in which to look within myself, I have been able to discover who I am and find my true potentials. Through the residential housing program, Amity Foundation, I have participated in restorative justice efforts, which not only helped me grow as a person, but affected change in many lives. Because of the love and support I have received through transitional housing, there's no chance that I will return to the criminal justice system. I am committed to not only helping myself, but to helping many others who are battling drug addictions. I am now a contributing member of service to my community. Through the savings of Prop 47 and the passage of AB 1056, our communities will be able to fund more residential programs like the Amity Foundation, which are designed to change lives and reduce recidivism. I am grateful to the voters and to the state of California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez, and we appreciate your taking time to come and share your personal story with us, because that's what is most important, how legislation that we deal with here impacts the lives of Californians. So thank you.
Thank you.
And we wish you continued success.
Thank you very much.
In support.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Tim Cromartie on behalf of the League of California Cities. In focusing on homelessness, this bill addresses one of the driving factors in recidivism. We're in strong support of the bill.
Thank you. I see we have a long line here, so name and identification and in support.
Greg DeGier, the Arc United Cerebral Palsy. We're on record as support, if amended, to include people with intellectual disabilities, formerly incarcerated people. Speaker staff has assured us there is language in the bill that would cover that, and they will help us with working with the board to include them. And based on that, we support the bill.
Thank you, sir.
Lee Pasagay on behalf of NAMI California in strong support.
Thank you.
Hi, Darby Kernan with the California State Association of Counties. We've been supporting the bill because we like the expansion into homelessness and job employment for ex-offenders. However, we've had concerns about the mandating of the ESC into the bill. We've provided some amendments to staff. We're continuing to work with the Speaker's office. And while there is no need for a bill for the funding to go out, we do think that the issues that the bill raises with expanding to housing and employment are important.
Thank you, Ms. Kernan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Kathy Sunderling McDonald with the County Welfare Directors Association in support.
Thank you.
Latoya Ramsey, National Association of Social Workers, California chapter in support.
Thanks.
Melissa Stinson with the California Building Industry Association in support.
Thank you, Ms. Stinson.
Marina Wyant with the California Housing Consortium in support.
Thank you.
Michael Young, California Labor Federation, also here in support.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Tom Sheehy, representing the California Police Chiefs Association. We're glad to support Ms. Atkins' bill this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehy.
Anna Schoffinley, Anti-Recidivism Coalition in strong support.
Thanks.
James Anderson, Anti-Recidivism Coalition in strong support.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Andrea Richardson, Legal Services for Prisoners with Children in strong support.
Thanks, Ms. Richardson.
Michael Bolden on behalf of the Service Employees International Union in support.
Thank you, Mr. Bolton.
Deirdre Wilson on behalf of SC, All of Us or None, and California Coalition for Women Prisoners in very strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Dennis Garcia on behalf of the California Attorneys for Criminal Justice in support.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Brian Sherman on behalf of Los Angeles County Professional Peace Officers, Long Beach Police Officers Association, Sacramento Deputy Sheriffs, and California Fraternal Order of Police. We believe this is a good public safety measure. It will help keep people off the streets and hopefully return them into back to society as productive members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Anyone else in support? In support?
No, neither support nor oppose. I'm with the BSCC. Would this be the appropriate time?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Speaker, members of the committee. I'm Katie Howard. I'm the Executive Director of the BSCC. We've been working very closely with the Speaker's office, providing technical assistance on the bill. The specific concerns that we have to do with the specificity of the membership of the Executive Steering Committee, which is responsible for administering the grant program. I think the additional priorities that the legislature may wish to overlay on the Prop 47 money makes sense, and that's not what our concern is, but the Executive Steering Committee is specifically called out in terms of areas of background. We've been working with the Speaker to suggest language similar to what she did in her bill on social innovation bonds last year, where areas of expertise are identified, but not specific slots, so to speak. So we're hopeful to resolve that concern.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. And now, opposition. Feel free to come up. We'll make some room for you.
Morning, Mr. Chair and members. Corey Salzillo here on behalf of the California State Sheriff's Association. Unfortunately and respectfully, in opposition to the bill, unless it's amended, we would raise the same concern that Ms. Howard from the Board of State and Community Corrections raised. The statute on the Board of State and Community Corrections very clearly points out that it's the board's responsibility to create committees to seek advice from a balanced range of stakeholders that are systematically informed by experts, include the participation of those who must implement a board decision and who are impacted by a board decision. And so we think putting in the statute a specific recitation of who must sit on this committee, it just doesn't make sense given the existing statutory charge of the board and the way that the board's governance structure operates. We think the board is totally capable of addressing the needs created by this bill and by Prop 47. And so again, our position is opposed unless amended to remove the language regarding the ESC structure and membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salzillo. I don't want to discount the importance of the governance and the membership of the Executive Steering Committee. These are important, fine details. But I would like to think that you might have a support if amended rather than opposed if not. Any reason why you went in one direction, not the other? You don't see the great value as so much of the rest of law enforcement has here today?
Well, I think it's a fair question, and I think it's probably just the where our folks wanted to weigh in. Again, it's not a comment on the rest of the bill or the Speaker's efforts thus far. We think the housing language is not in conflict with Prop 47. It probably makes sense. And again, that's not the basis for our position. But in terms of addressing the issue and I think making the point of where our position is, that's where we're coming from. Getting into that governance structure is a significant issue, and so I think we wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I'm told I have to go present a bill in Assembly Public Safety. So I'm going to pass. Good luck with that. Thank you. I know how it is over there. I'm going to pass the gavel to the Vice Chair of the committee. But before we go, we will establish a quorum. So if we could call the roll, please.
Hancock, Anderson, Glazer. Aye. Glazer here, Leno.
Here.
Leno here, Liu, Monning. Here. Monning here, Stone. Stone here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And Senator Stone will very ably take the gavel from here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, we have no one else opposed to the bill, correct? Then we'll go to the Speaker for a closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I would say in response to some of the comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions or take comments from your members, you know, I think we're all sort of in agreement that this is an important way to approach addressing recidivism and providing significant resources that are necessary to make someone successful, housing and services attached to that that allow a person coming out of jail to be able to focus on school, education, mental health issues, drug and alcohol abuse, and to have a roof over your head. I think in response to some of the comments, I am more than willing to continue to have a conversation about how a steering committee or the role of the BSCC, which is critical, to this, I'm happy to have that conversation. I would point out just a couple of quick things. One, having done some of this work for a number of years in my own county of San Diego, I know the sheriff that I work with there, Sheriff Gore. I know the head of Health and Human Services, Nick Mescione. I know the probation chief, Matt Jenkins. I know the district attorney. And San Diego County has actually come up with the Psychological Emergency Response Team, or PERT, has come up with HOT, the Homeless Outreach Team, the Serial Inebriate Program. All of those programs has put my county in the position, law enforcement and Health and Human Services, in the position, having done these programs, to understand what is needed for success. It has taken a very long time for cities and counties and even some local nonprofits to understand the concept of housing first and permanent supportive housing and how that lends to success. And I am happy to entertain dialogue to make changes as necessary. But if I look at the Board of State and Community Corrections, and I look at kind of what I'm suggesting on the Executive Steering Committee, I really think there's got to be some level of expertise that understands where we have come from and where we need to go. And that's all I'm asking. So I'm happy to continue a dialogue between now and appropriations to get there, but I really hope that people understand the need to have some level of expertise weighing in. Not that I don't think it isn't there, but I think if you look at the makeup, there is room for some advisory role for people who understand successful models for success. And I would just ask for your indulgence to continue that discussion, understanding that we're trying to get to the same end result to benefit California and those who are formerly incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. I didn't give some members a chance to answer questions, so I'll still let you have a closing statement. Senator Monning, if you'd like to start.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I just want to thank the Speaker for bringing this forward, and appreciate also the attentiveness to the concerns raised by the opposition. And it sounds to me that the shared objective here is to establish successful programs that can reduce recidivism and fulfill the promise of the objectives of Prop 47 and ongoing efforts, some of which have been more successful than others. But appreciate your commitment to keep working on it. That's how you work, and I'm glad to be supportive today. And Mr. Chair, be glad to move the bill at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Monning. Just a few issues. First of all, I applaud the effort to reduce recidivism. I think that's very important, and your emphasis on housing is very important. But different areas might have different needs, and I'm wondering, 65% of the funding that you're looking to effectuate, how it is spent through various programs that I saw in the staff report. How 65% goes to the Board of State and Community Corrections, right? 10% to the California Victim Compensation, 25% to the State Department of Education. Why would we want to mandate at the local level that's been struggling with AB 109 and Prop 47? Do we not feel that the locals, should be more decisive, have more of a deciding role on how those funds are spent? And have we actually seen any savings to Prop 47 yet?
Well, on the savings piece, and I'm going to let one of my witnesses comment on part of what you asked. Yeah. On the savings piece, we don't know yet. We won't know until next year. The LAO has estimated 100 to 200 million, but we won't know until we get an assessment. So this is all, in anticipation of what resources we might have. And I think in terms of the 65%, the point is that there has to be, for accountability, a public agency, a city, a county, an agency that is the lead, working in collaboration with community individual groups on the ground in their communities, who sort of know their communities and can make that application to the board. And then, of course, I think the strength of the board is that they know the problem from north to south and rural, urban, and understand where the great needs are. So I think that speaks to accountability and need, and also allowing for local solutions. Would you like to add to that,
I think
Melina?
you actually said that very clearly.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the answer. I think that, and I think we'll all agree on this dais, that probably the number one issue that we need to address besides housing is mental health
Right.
funding. And I just want to make sure that the local entities have the ability to steer the appropriate resources to mental health issues, because I think that's going to go a long way to reducing recidivism. So I hear that you're going to continue to work with the Sheriff's Association on the bill to make it better. I think it's a great start to reducing recidivism. I think what I'm going to do is just lay off the bill today and see how those discussions progress, and look forward to the bill coming back to the floor.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call.
Hancock. Anderson. Glazer.
Aye.
Glazer, aye. Leno. Lou. Monning. Monning, aye. Stone.
We'll hold the roll up, and Madam Speaker, thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
very
here today.
much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I see Senator Runner in the audience. We have SB 54. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair. Today, I have a bill, SB 54. It's designed to make sex offender residency restrictions more workable and provide relief in jurisdictions where a majority of sex offenders can't find compliant housing. The bill provides that the appellate division of the Superior Court of each county would have primary jurisdiction to consolidate and hear petitions challenging the 2,000-foot voter-approved residency restriction, which precludes registered sex offenders from residing near schools and parks. Let me start with a little bit of background. In 2005, Jennifer Lunsford of Florida was kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and buried alive. Her killer, a previously convicted child molester, worked a construction job at Jessica's school and resided 150 yards from her home. More than 40 states have adopted enhanced penalties for convicted child molesters, generically called Jessica's Law. In 2006, we sponsored Proposition 83, California's Jessica's Law. We enjoyed the support of the Governor Schwarzenegger at the time, Attorney General Jerry Brown, and more than 70% of the voters. Most of the provisions in Jessica's Law were implemented and have provided California's law enforcement with more tools to impede, apprehend, and incarcerate violent sex offenders. However, it became apparent that one provision, the 2,000-foot sex offender residency restriction, would be difficult to apply in San Francisco and other densely populated counties. In response, SB 1203, which is in 2008 by then Senator George Runner, was introduced to provide county exemptions. In 2011, I introduced SB 54 to expedite petitions challenging the residency restrictions. Both bills failed the committees. Since then, the California Supreme Court has twice rejected petitions which challenge the constitutionality of the sex offender residency statute on its face. The court did, however, order the San Diego Superior Court to conduct a trial and make findings of fact regarding this statute as applied to parolees in San Diego County. In March this year, based upon these findings, the California Supreme Court ruled the 2,000-foot sex offender restriction had been unconstitutionally applied to parolees in San Diego. The court explained that the ruling only addressed the statute of applied to parolees in San Diego County. The ruling did not alter the statutory authority of the Division of Adult Parole to enforce sex offender residency restrictions of up to that 2,000 feet. In the wake of Reed Taylor, there is growing uncertainty regarding the application of the 2,000-foot statute. The procedure followed by the Supreme Court makes it clear local courts are the best positioned to make factual findings regarding county application of sex offender residency restrictions. SB 54 seeks to replace habeas petitions with a more direct county-based petition process. That could expedite relief and unburden appellate courts. The bill also clarifies the 2,000-foot restriction shall be measured by the shortest practical route, and the restriction applies to the violent sex offenders enumerated in Penal Code Section 667.61. I've provided a handout which lists the specific crimes, as well as a map of California which highlights heavy populated areas that they could choose to make a difference in that 2,000 feet. I'd ask for your aye vote, and I have with me Charlie Fennessy, an attorney that works in my office and worked with us on Jessica's Law, Harriet Salerno of Crime Victims United to testify, several that couldn't be here today that are in support, Association of Code Enforcement Officers, Association of Deputy District Attorneys, California College and University Police Chiefs Association, the California Narcotics Officers Association, of course, Crime Victims United, Los Angeles Police Department, LA Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles Police Protection League, Riverside Sheriff's Association, and former Senator George Renner, along with who's Board of Equalization right now. So I have Charlie here for any questions you might have that are specific to the bill, but I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Renner. Did you want to give any formal presentations? Our guests?
I'm Harriet Salerno, Chair of Crime Victims United, and strongly support this bill.
Thank you so much for being here today. And sir, did you want to make any comments as a supporter?
Well, I've worked with Allison extensively over the years, and not to belabor it, but the need for the bill can best be explained by the words of the California Supreme Court itself in a prior habeas petition, EJ, which was cited in the analysis. And what the court did is said petitioners were not all similarly situated. There were 4 individuals who were seeking relief with regard to their paroles because they had been paroled in different cities and counties within the state. The availability of housing in areas that would enable petitioners to comply with the 2,000-foot rule during their parole, a matter critical to deciding merits of their constitutional challenges, had not been factually established. Evidentiary hearings would have to be conducted to establish the relevant facts necessary to decide each claim. The trial courts of the counties to which the petitioners had been paroled were in the best position to conduct such hearings. Basically, this bill is an attempt to relieve the high courts of a task that they can't fulfill. The Supreme Court does not know what the residency particulars are in Fresno County.
Right.
Also, we took note of the analysis relative to the constitutional standard, and we agree with the consultant that the standard should be the same as the standard used in Ray Taylor. So the senator would be pleased to accept an amendment instead of a majority, just that the court would have to find that because of a lack of compliant housing, the 2,000-foot registration cannot be constitutionally applied using the standard articulated in Ray Taylor.
Thank you for your testimony. So now we'll call upon the opposition.
Mr. Chair, members, also in support.
I'm sorry.
Just here to let the senator know that the Association of Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, Los Angeles Police Protective League, Riverside Sheriff's Association, and the Association of Deputy District Attorneys are in the room here to support her bill, and thank her for the introduction to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any others in support of the bill? If you'd please come forward.